Hello, I'm Leah Reynolds and this is my laryngeal model video. I did want to apologize at the beginning. I will be flipping pages a lot in order to keep with the rubric and keeping with those numbers, but just bear with me. So I wanted to start off with this picture. It is what you would see if you're looking at a patient's neck. It is the anterior portion. First we have the thyroid cartilage. Its main function is to protect the airway, and it also helps with pitch as well as an insertion point for the thyroarytenoid muscles. Below that we have the cricoid cartilage, which is completely circular, shaped like a signet ring, and it has the arytenoid cartilages on top of it and also has many muscles that attach to it. Then at the top we have the hyoid bone, which its main job is as an insertion point for muscles that are used during swallowing. It is the only free-floating bone in the body, and many of the muscles in the neck, such as the strap muscles, will attach to the hyoid bone. Next we have the epiglottis, which is just posterior to that, and it covers the airway during swallowing so that there is no aspiration. And let me flip over. We do have the arytenoid cartilages, which are just on the cricoid cartilage, as you can see there. And the arytenoid cartilages have the vocal folds, or the thyroarytenoid muscles, attached to it, as you can see is kind of illustrated by that line. And that's mainly used for keeping the glottis open during breathing and then closed for voicing. Back over here we do have the first tracheal ring, and that leads down to the lungs and just protects the airway so that the air can come in and out. Next we have the nerves. So we have the superior laryngeal nerve at the top, and it goes in through the thyrohyoid membrane, and then we have the recurrent laryngeal nerve at the bottom, so that goes down by the heart and by the lungs. And so the superior laryngeal nerve is mainly used with swallowing, and it's one of its big functions, whereas the recurrent nerve mainly has to do with breathing and the heart beating before it comes back up. But both of those have to do with the voicing process and the muscles that are inside of the larynx as well. And next, this view is if you were doing a video laryngostroboscopy. This is the anterior portion, this is the posterior portion, and you can see the inside of the larynx here. First we have the base of the tongue. So if this was the mouth, the tongue would be here, and then the structure is just right behind it. And we have the valleculae, which is right behind that, and the valleculae tends to collect any saliva that's coming down. And next we have the piriform sinuses, which are to the side, and you can see that again in this view. They kind of come down a bit like that, and this view here is if the larynx was cut in half, this would be the anterior side that you're seeing. So it's kind of directly opposite of the first picture. And next we go to the ventricular folds, which are here, and as you can see in this one, they are directly superior of the true vocal folds, and those are not supposed to be used in voicing, but instead in swallowing they will come together and help protect against aspiration. And we have the true vocal folds, which are going to be the white part that you see, and they're here together again. Those are mainly used as voicing and keeping the glottis open during breathing. Next, we're going to talk a bit about muscles. So at this page, we have the cricothyroid muscle, and when that contracts, the thyroid cartilage will move forward a bit, and that elongates the vocal folds, which then increases the pitch. And that's mainly what the cricothyroid muscle is used for. Next, we have the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. So that's going to be in the back of the cricoid. You can kind of see that comes around. And on this side, it's this one. When that pulls, it's going to bring the arytenoids out, which abducts the vocal folds. And opposite of that, we have the lateral cricoarytenoid, which is it's opposite. So when it contracts, it brings the arytenoids together, basically adducting, and these two muscles are working against each other. Next, we have some joints to look at. So cricothyroid joint is right here, and that's where the rocking of the thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage will be seen. Then we have the cricoarytenoid joint, which is where the arytenoid and cricoid cartilages meet, and the rocking of the arytenoid happens. Next is the hypopharynx, which is right above the pharynx. It's like the top portion. If you can see here, it'd be right here. It's the lowest part of the pharynx. And then we have the esophagus, which is this line right here. When during swallowing, everything kind of compresses, which would then open the esophagus, and the epiglottis would come over with the tongue, so the food would go straight into the esophagus and not into the glottic area. And the vocal process is right in there. Oh, actually, sorry. The vocal process is right here. It's the part of the arytenoid cartilages that has the thyroid arytenoid muscle attached to it and essentially has the vocal folds. And that is all I have for you today.